he became a little bit indignant. And in so many words, said, hey, I have important things to do. If you want to talk with me, you better speak up. Like he couldn't continue this indefinitely. And like if I had any respect for him, I wouldn't make him do it indefinitely. And he arrived at a night where in so many words he really said that. And I didn't answer him. And the next day, I provided him with the impression that made him aware that he had brought willfulness into play, and that would absolutely block the connection. And so he humbly came back, because the need was so great, not because of any respect for me. He humbly came back and sat down with complete comfort at the idea of doing this for a year, if necessary. And was not demanding in any way. And I did not answer him that night. But the next night when he came back, not having abandoned that attitude, we had our first conversation. So, thy will be done. Yielding means yielding in all aspects. It means being completely willing, which you are feeling, but it means being completely willing, feeling the virginess of your willingness, and then saying, as far as however long it takes, thy will be done as well, you see. I said earlier to Anne that she is lovable. You are lovable. Love is forever extended to you. And love is what your creation embodied. And so you are love. You are divine love embodied. The very substance of you is love. And so, just as I said that you can't be lost and awakening is inevitable, it is inevitable that you will stand in receipt of the love that is extended to you. And it is also inevitable that you will come into the conscious experience, the full conscious experience of being love itself embodied and extending. And so everything is on your side. Absolutely everything stands in ready support of your transformation, the transformation of your conscious experience by virtue of your willingness to let go of personal control And it's important to understand this. It helps reduce your fear while at the same time necessitating the bringing into play of faith. Trust. And as I've said before, there's a great difference between trust and confidence. Trust means becoming aware of your need, feeling needy, becoming defenseless, so that something can be let in. And daring to do this without knowing for sure that what you're letting in is trustworthy. When self-confidence and self-responsibility and self-respect, the achievement of these has been drummed into you, when the achievement of these has been drummed into you, as being the most important thing related to being a civilized human being, then you are inversely being taught that to depend on someone else is a faulty action and a dangerous action. And in the context of that teaching of self-reliance, of sovereignty and independence, you are of a mind to automatically distrust anyone else enough to entrust yourself to them. And that's why the element of trust is so fundamental to waking up, because trust must be present in order for a relationship to occur, and in order for defenses to be let down enough for connection to be felt. So, doing this can seem difficult, not because it's an untrustworthy process, but because you have been overly trained in self-reliance, and therefore the unstated danger of needing others and letting down your defenses and becoming dependent upon them. The only reason you don't let go instantaneously into the direct experience of God is because you don't trust God. And at the bottom line, when it really comes down to brass tacks, you're not even sure that you believe in God, that there is a God. But if you're going to put your life on the line and say, God, help me, you're going to come up against any lack of belief in God that you have, and you will have the glorious opportunity of being able to move through it and begin to have evidence of His love in practical terms in your life, which will allow each additional step to become more and more graceful. But there is always going to be that experience of risk because you have been conditioned to find everything other than you to be untrustworthy. Okay. We will take a break.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of more comments before going to the next question. In my answer to you, it may have sounded as though I was saying that waking up would take time. As though illusion couldn't suddenly disappear. Like saying, if you had a terminal illness, it might take years to get your full healing. And that is not what I meant to convey. It's important to understand that in the illustration of the funnel, that the funnel itself is hanging in the middle of infinity. It isn't outside of infinity. It does seem to block the visual experience of infinity, but it isn't an experience going on in some place other than infinity. It's important to understand, as I've said before, but not to you, that right now, at every moment, you're confronted with reality. No matter how you are perceiving it, you are confronted with reality. You are confronted with the kingdom of heaven. There's nothing else for you to be experiencing. Your destination, as it were, in the process of waking up is not going to be somewhere else. It isn't as though I'm saying, well, you're going to have to continue to live in the earth condition until you finally give up all willfulness. And then, suddenly you will disappear from the earth experience and find yourself in the kingdom of heaven. This is not an experience to endure until you wake up. This is the kingdom of heaven that you are experiencing right now, but through a glass darkly, you might say. Through lenses of perception that are distorting it and making it look very unlovely, unlike heaven. So, this process of coming back into your right mind is not a process which you will not experience the benefit of until it's completed, and then you're zapped out of the earth experience. As you begin to be willing to yield, to be curious as to what the Father's will is, to be curious as to how you fit in, to be curious as to how to be utterly appropriate in any given moment, not by virtue of your reasoning and your figuring things out, or attempting to get things you want, but because you're listening deeply to feel from God where to be and what to do and when to do it. And the garments that you've put on as an insulation against feeling your divinity are discarded The kingdom of heaven that you were seeing through a glass darkly will be seen through a glass less darkly. And you are going to see your world changing. You're going to see your experience changing. You will have evidence of your less conflicted frame of mind. So, you're not bound to suffer in the way you currently suffer until you have finally taken off all the insulating garments. We're not talking about suffering, and we're not talking about time, but we're talking about attending to the use you are putting your mind to, so that you put it to a better use. So that as you put it to a better use, you have ongoing, increasing evidence that indeed you never left the kingdom of heaven. And the more you were curious to see is coming to view, which will confirm to you that the more you continue to wish to see, that will come to view as well. And so there will begin to be a little bit of grace to the process. The point is to begin to engage in doing it. Okay. Okay, hands. The lady from Hawaii, from Hansville, formerly from Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Raj.
Good afternoon.
I'm sure you're aware of all the anger that I experienced yesterday, part of today, and part of the night before. And it had to do with the slash and clearing and burning of all the things of beauty, being trees and shrubs and grass, that was done on the property that's right behind me with this big monster, earth-shattering equipment that sounded as bad as the job it was doing, in my opinion. And it really caused me a lot of heartache, so to speak. And I did definitely react to it. I've been trying today to come down from that experience. And anything you have to say about that, and also I thought possibly I might want to leave Hansville and find me another place to live.
I'm sorry, you might like to what?
I might like to leave Hansville and find another place to live that might be more in keeping with what I feel is important in this world. So any comments I'd appreciate.
Just a moment. I'm going to be very straight and blunt with you, honest with you. Don't misunderstand what's happening here. You have been looking for a reason, a justification for moving, because you have not found your joy here before the events of the last couple of days. I am not going to let you successfully remain ignorant of the fact that you are using this event as justification for something you already were wishing for. Aside from what you were wishing for, I want you to remember something about, let us say, Mother Earth, that is absolutely amazing and wonderful. And that is that whether it's an earth mover or whether it's a hurricane that comes in and defoliates and apparently destroys the manifestations of Mother Nature, Mother Nature is not defeated. And poor stewardship by mankind does not ultimately thwart her, Mother Nature. And therefore, in the face of what has happened, you have reason for gratitude and for joy to know that the hand of man cannot actually overcome the order and love and eternality of God's self-expression in the form you call nature. Now you can choose to be offended by what has happened, or you can choose to find reasons for gratitude. But don't continue to connect it with a pre-existing wish for a justification to leave. No matter where you go, your love for the place where you go will be needed in that place, and it's needed here. And I encourage you to get back in touch with that love and let it find expression here. Let it find continued and increasing expression here, which it will do as you let go of resentment for not being able to be somewhere else. I will tell you, you are right where you belong, and you are right where fulfillment is unfolding. And I encourage you to persist in engaging your curiosity to see the more of your fulfillment that is awaiting you. That's the end of the answer.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. Let's hope I'm more open to being willing to accept the fulfillment that's in store. Now, may I ask a second question?
You may.
I've heard a partial because of a question that someone else asked, and that's regarding what am I, or why am I, or whatever, blocking the healing that I need for my dental problems. I do know that I have a mouthful of all kinds of stuff the dentist says I need to have done, should have done long ago, and I've been waiting around for a healing, and maybe that's not what I'm supposed to do. So anything about that I'd appreciate.
We will address that at another time, privately.
I see. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
again.
Okay. Hands. Right here in front.
I have a two-part question. I'd like to know how much of what Fred says to me I should believe, and if there will come a time before long when I won't feel such ambivalence toward Fred.
I'm sorry, the truck went by and I...
The second part,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if it won't be long before I will no longer feel such ambivalence toward Fred.
The answer to the latter question is it will take about 6 months. Just a moment. As far as how much of what he says to believe, very little at the moment. There is a lack of real clarity there presently. However, that will return. Clarity will return, and therefore you will be able to trust more of what is said. Give him his space and do not require of him a degree of clarity that he doesn't currently have available to himself. That's the end of the answer. Okay. Hands. The gentleman in the back.
Good afternoon, Raj.
Good afternoon.
I would ask you for a state of my ship, but I'll be a bit more specific. Over the last 6 weeks, I have felt a loss of peace. Some phrases I've attached to it as fear of the future, regret of the past, not grounded, free-floating anxiety, not sure what I should be or capital B doing. I find that sometimes seeking silence is escape rather than the finding of groundedness. And I just would like to know what's going on. This seems to be very poignant and very different than much of my experience before this point in time. And I don't know, I've got some weird ideas, but I'm asking for any guidance you might have or clarity.